Hello, everyone. We're going to start chatting. My name is Cathy Levy. I'm the international advisor for Jacob's Pillow Dance Festival. And of course, you know who this is, Eric Gauthier, artistic director.
What a great audience. Amazing. Thank you.
We're going to be joined by a couple of dancers, but before that happens, congratulations. I mean, I'm exhausted. I don't know about the rest of you, but I am exhausted.
It's a workout. It's a workout. Yeah.
It's amazing. Eric, we are going to talk, of course, about the fireworks project. Oh, and just so you know, we're going to chat, and then at the end, we're going to leave a bit of time for you guys to ask some questions, okay? So think about them now while we're having this first part of the chat. So Eric, before we talk about the specific show that we saw,
Yep.
I know that a lot of what happens at Gauthier Dance is that you develop these concept programs, which is a pretty unique thing to do. And I'm just curious if you could give us a little bit of insight into how and why and what is it that's unique about that approach to
Good
repertoire?
question. Why is for the reaction that just happened. I find that when I build a new evening for the company, I always I want to try to achieve a mutual feeling of happiness within the space. And every production is very different. Some are darker. This is a lighter one, let's say. It's fun, and it's supposed to be, you know, all the colors of dance, all the colors of music, all the colors of feelings for you. There's some poetry involved. There's also just some laughs involved, which is kind of a no-go in dance, that people should laugh out loud. But why? You know, it's a nice emotion to feel and to spit out. But I'm extremely happy with fireworks. I have to say, my little idea, I remember I had it late at night, I think over a glass of red wine. And I said, the house lives from the music. We have to do, the music has to be more important than the dance, at least in my vision. So the music was chosen, and then came the dance on top of that.
But it's such a challenge because in a single choreographer company, that choreographer is creating the work with their dancers, developing a particular style, and then constantly rehearsing it. You're going to a number of different choreographers, different styles, and then really your curatorial art really is putting all of that together. That's
True.
Quite a challenge, really.
It's kind of American, Canadian based. There is a choreographer that runs the company, and when you see that group, you see his work, you know, a bit like Hofer Schester, Akram Khan, and so. Gauthier Dance was for me always clear that it's going to be a repertory group that I can feed my dancers with all these different choreographers. You know, they're growing as dancers every day because when they stepped into the studio with Sharon, you know, the piece on Releve, this thing. When they stepped in the studio with her, they were just super excited to see where the journey is going to go. And when they started the fireworks project, they heard the music before, but they didn't know what Benjamin Millepied would do, what each one would do. And I think the more the dancers work with different voices of dance, choreographers and creators of movement, the better they get, you know? And that's why, aren't they awesome, the 16 of them? They're so awesome. But should we bring them out? I think it's nice.
If they're ready.
Shawn and
ready.
Bruna, you guys ready to come out? Yeah, so I got two of my crew here.
Woo! Fantastic.
Come on over.
We've got a mic for you to share.
Maybe
All right.
introduce yourselves. We do that?
Hi, my name is Shawn. I'm from Taiwan, and this is my 6th season with Gauthier Dance.
Hi, my name is Bruna, and I come from Brazil. I've been dancing with Eric since 9 years now.
We were talking about these ideas of the concept program and, you know, the difference between a single choreographer and this multiple repertory approach. So I'm really curious to hear from each of you. I mean, we saw you do, you know, Bigonzetti and Sharon Eyal and Benjamin Millepied. What is it about that preparation for you as dancers to make sure that you get the particular style, the particular voice of each choreographer? Ladies first.
Okay. First of all, I think it's a brilliant idea that Eric had to put all of this together for us. For us, it's also amazing to be able to experience different styles and to work with different people. Like, there are big names in the ballet world and in the contemporary world. And for us, it's just amazing to have the experience to work with them.
Shawn?
For me, I would say the same, and it's like the preparation for it. Yes. So first of all, we need to practice and to really embody it, and then you can just dive for it. So you don't really need to go over everything at the same time, but then when you perform, you just go for it and just be in the moment, and yeah, just go for it.
And it's also a process,
Yeah.
no? Like, I think it's a process that we have to go through to be able to fully understand each one of them.
Some of the choreographers that we're seeing tonight, you have worked with other projects, but then some of them are completely new. So they're coming in and in a short period of time making a work that's, what, like 3-4 minutes, 5 minutes, right? So that is a different kind of challenge, I would imagine.
Some creators, they like challenges, because a lot of choreographers, if you give them 6 weeks, they're going to use 6 weeks, and the product will almost be the same as if they had 2 weeks, because they
Don't
just
tell
keep,
them that.
they keep tingling and tingling. So for the fireworks project, each choreographer was given 1 week. I said, come and visit us for 1 week in Stuttgart, do your thing, and we'll go on to the next and the next and the next.
But you've done that before with Elements, with Swan Lakes. I mean, maybe not as many choreographers, but
Right.
it's certainly... So what is the difference with fireworks? Is it the length of each of the individual pieces?
Yeah, I mean, the job that was given at hand was one song, right? A lot of them tried, and yeah, but I like 2 of his songs, can I stick them together? And then I said, you know, because the first half is 1 hour, we can't exaggerate. I mean, we could have done a full evening with it, I guess, if I let the choreographers choose 2 tracks from each musician. But 1 week they had, you guys worked very quickly. The big circle piece, they're in a circle and Sydney's always turning around. Virginie Brunelle from Montreal made that in 3 days. And Stijn, he made, with the 3 colored jackets, he made it in 2 days. Yeah, so, you know, it's... Some choreographers, they like to be, you know, pushed to the limit. Be fast, work fast, and it's tougher for them because they have to get the style in those
So
2
we'll put
days.
you on the spot. Do you have a favorite? I mean, obviously the favorites are things that you're dancing in, but I mean, for this particular show, for fireworks, is there something you particularly love to do?
From the evening tonight?
Yes.
Well, I have to say I have a love for Sharon. And yeah, I think I just love working with her, and she's super inspiring. I think my favorite is Sharon.
Sharon's piece, Alone.
Yes.
And for you, Shawn?
My favorite would be, I think, the first piece in Fireworks project. It's from Mauro Bigonzetti. I was dancing with Tutti. And
Beautiful duet.
yeah, I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Wonderful. So good.
Now, it's beautiful. Now, Eric, I mean, we mentioned that Shawn is originally from Taiwan, Bruna originally from Brazil. The company is extremely international. How do you find your dancers?
That's a good story. Let me tell you how I found these 2
Okay.
here. So Bruna was a very famous ballerina. Yeah, she was winning all the big prizes that you can win in dance. And I was going to the city where she was working in once a year, and I would say, "When are you ready to come to me? When are you?" And then she said, "I still have to wear these point shoes, and I still have to do Giselle, and I still have to." And I would go back and back, and at some point she said, "Yeah, I feel like coming now," and that made my day, my year. Yeah. Shawn was a bit of a wild child when I met him. He was, I think, 19, and he was dancing in a company in Switzerland. And I talked to the director there, because when Shawn came, I was a bit like, whoa, he's so talented. Like, he's like a gummy bear. He can bend backwards and show them. No, I'm just kidding. But Shawn was very wild, like a wildling. He was young. It's okay. And then I spoke to his director, and he said, yeah, if you can get him under control, he's going to be incredible. And he's grown up, so in 6 seasons, now you're one of the most professional ones and coming early, like Ronaldo in football. He's the first one there, last one to leave. So, yeah, that's a bit the
Love to
story
give
with
him the
those
World
2.
Cup. But the company is completely international. You mentioned earlier that there aren't even, right now, any German dancers.
There are no Germans since 3 seasons, 4 seasons. It's not because I don't want. When I'm looking for a dancer, I really have to find the person that fits them and fits the gang and the group. And 3 years ago, I built the Gauthier Dance Juniors, so my second company. They're just as good, just much younger. They're between 20 and 23 years of age, and I'm actually feeding the main group from the juniors now, because they have the DNA of the company. They understand how we work, and
They're amazing. I saw them last summer when I was at
they're
your
real
festival.
good. They're real
Fantastic.
good. Yeah.
And what about choreographers? How would you describe how you select the choreographers to come work with the company?
I mean, I want to make them happy, of course, because working with Sharon is a dream, and working with all these people. But I usually get the idea, the concept of the new evening. I have the evenings planned for the next 3 years, and then I kind of adapt to who would be great for that idea. And I try to. There's a pool of 20 choreographers that we always go to, that we keep coming back to. It's Johan Inger, actually quite a few of them from today. Sharon also, and Andonis Foniadakis, the Greek who made Bolero. They keep, every couple of years I want a piece from them, a creation. And then I try to find new voices in dance, which is my job as a curator. Discover new voices, like now we had Rena Butler, who's from here actually. She had a premiere at the Pillow. It was the third piece in Fireworks Project, the one with the hair connected. She created that last week at the Pillow. She had 1 week.
It's actually a wonderful story, because we were looking for someone with a connection to the Pillow, and Eric and I were on the phone, and we were talking about this, and I said, well, have you heard of this woman, Rena Butler? And it turned out that Rena had worked with the Gauthier Juniors, which I didn't know. And so Eric generously sent the 2 dancers a week early, and Rena made the piece, as you said, here on the site.
And it
She had an
premiered
amazing time.
2 days ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was the world premiere in the show that we saw tonight. Pretty fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of the choreographers that have been working with the company, they have really busy companies on their own. So it must be
Pretty
a
famous
crazy.
people. We have 3 house choreographers. Choreographers that we do a piece of theirs every year, I would say. If it's not a new creation in one season, we keep it in the repertoire pieces that we have, like Hofesh Sheshta. Hofesh you didn't see so much of today, but Hofesh is one of our house choreographers. Azure Barton, actually, who works
Another
a lot
Canadian.
in the States, another Canadian. Azure and Barak Marshall. Barak today you saw, he did the bookends of the Firework Project. The very flamboyant beginning and the ending on the floor when they're flipping around, yeah.
So I'm just curious for the dancers. I mean, you have to be always like eyes in the back of your head. I mean, this is not a show where you're only on your own and you're always looking. So can you just explain to people who might not know how you train for that, how you train to see behind you and see around you with such complex work all the time? They do have eyes in the back of their head. That's the answer to the question.
Well, a lot of people ask these kind of questions, and I think it's really like practicing and, this awareness of people around you and everything, like work together as a group and connection and everything. I think it really required time and practice, and it's nothing that you can do it like in a quick time,
And I also, just to add to that, I think we have a very good connection between each other, and we trust each other a lot. So if one of us needs the other, we are all there for each other all the time. So I think that helps a lot with the back of the eye thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you brought from your ballet training, do you think?
Good question. Maybe, maybe. Like, to be coordinated in a corps de ballet, you need to be able to work together. But like, there's many people who didn't do ballet here, and I think if they didn't know, they learned very fast.
Mm-hmm. I've got a few minutes, I think, to open it up. Are there any questions from the house?
Something I've always been curious about. Would you speak to the process of choreography? I would imagine that some choreographers arrive with very, very specific ideas, and others work more improvisationally. And I wonder if you would speak to that, please.
Yeah, I'll answer from my side, and maybe you say also how it feels with different choreographers, how they work differently. They're all different, right? They're all artists. Artists are complicated, this or that. me being one of them. But when you step into the studio, I always have a clear idea. Same with the production. Before I choose my choreographers, I know I'm going to do that production. If it's called Elements and it has 4 elements, I will choose 4 choreographers. If it's fireworks, I know I'm going to choose 20 pieces of music. They will get 10. So I have a clear concept. With the Ballet 101, the solo you saw today from Shori, who did a very good job today. Ballet 101 I made 20 years ago when I was still a ballet boy at Stuttgart Ballet, and my best friend Jason Riley was the big star there, and I said, I want to do the young choreographers and I have an idea, and he said, but it's in 3 days from now, and I said, yeah, let's be quick and make a solo, and he said, okay, and I had the idea, let's do positions for fun, and there's a part where he's on his knee and he's going like this, because we had been out the night before to brainstorm a bit late. And because it's so hard, he almost threw up in the studio. That's why I put that movement in there. And so it all has a story, but it came from an idea. And then whenever I create, it comes from one big idea that's ready to be born. And then I have the both amazing dancers to let it be born on. Yeah.
It's interesting too, because for those of you who've seen some of the companies from some of these choreographers, you'll see the liaison between their approach to the bodies on their own dancers and then the approach in fireworks. And some of them you'll get to see over the next several years at the Pillow. So I'm going to ask another quick question. What's the biggest challenge being a dancer in Gauthier Dance? Tell us the secret. Yeah.
I think for me, it's the diversity of things we do. That's the biggest challenge. Like in one evening, if we have a lot of different things, which it's a good challenge. It's not a bad thing, Eric. Just so you know. To be able to switch from one thing to the other in a matter of 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know how much
Which
we have in
absolutely
between.
witnessed tonight.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest challenge. For me.
Shawn?
I think, the biggest challenge for me, I think it has to do with time. I think everything's happening so fast, and you need to catch it right away, otherwise it just disappears and it just goes. So you need to catch up the time, the speed, and every moment is very precious. So that's the biggest challenge for me.
Another question from the house?
When you're on tour and every stage and backstage is different, what is the process of adapting your choreography to the unknown or unfamiliar?
It's a good question. Every theater has a different size and a different stage size and a different lighting rig and a different sound system and the only thing that is common and stays the same is the dance. So some theaters are easier and some is a giant challenge. I have to say here it was quite easy because the team at the Pillow is very efficient and very professional and very good. You could even say they're German made, because my crew is German, they're super good. They're work, 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 you don't stop till it's done. And I know from here it was an easy job. And I'm so lucky that we have this beautiful back wall, right? Because we've done the fireworks around a lot, and I always open up the back, and sometimes it's not that pretty, So what a gorgeous background, and then when it was lit, it's so gorgeous. Some theaters are a challenge. The company has made a name now. We try not to go to the small houses because we know this is never going to fit there. So we're not being exclusive, but we're happy going to bigger sized theaters, like in October at City Center. That's a big stage, and we're trying to get, we booked our week at the Joyce already in New York. I don't know if anybody's from New York. Yeah, there's a lot of people from New York here. But if it all works out, last week of March, we'll be at the Joyce next year. I'm crossing fingers and toes, yeah.
Other questions from the hall? There we go.
Well, thank you for just an extraordinary afternoon. My question is, you must have a very intense rehearsal schedule. Both in terms of time and just the energy output to get what you achieve. And I'm wondering how you balance that with your off time, or do you live also the way that you work. It seems so much of a collective experience. I'm wondering if you are a collective when you're not working.
How do you balance the work life?
I think we just try to be as productive as we can when we are on the studios, and whenever we are out, we just try to relax our bodies and, like, I don't know, just try to feel as good as we can for the next day. I think work for us is pretty important, and we just, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, the work is definitely very demanding. I think you do need you need to have the passion and the drive in order to do this job. If you see life completely 100% as important as the work, then it can be tricky. So yeah, you kind of sometimes need to let go a bit, but when you do have the energy for your life and do things, you also need to like grab it. You cannot just let it go. So it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but I found the balance. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If I can just add also, yeah, you found the balance. You have a nice partner, and so what I heard a lot from the dancers, because we tour a lot, and then I say, how come you don't have a boyfriend? You're so pretty, amazing. And then, yeah, I don't have time to meet someone. And I say, oh no, this is horrible. And then when I hear that, I'm like, look, now you guys are done for the day. There's no show tonight. Go meet someone nice, Go. There's nice people here, and we're in Becket, and we're in Becket. Yeah. And just to go back to your question, when we are at work, I always say the ballet studio is our church. We have to take it very seriously. There's no chewing gum in there. There's no cell phones in our studio. And when I travel as a choreographer and I see that, I'm dying inside when dancers chew gum in the studio and look at their phones. The moment you're not dancing, you're like, there should be no phones in the studio. It's bad vibes anyways from those things. So we're really consequent. We believe in the work that we do. Everything is done for a reason. And then when it's over at 5 or 6 o'clock at night, then you can do whatever you want. But those few hours of the day, we're there to work. Yeah.
Do we have time for another question from the hall? There's one over there.
What's with the red around your neck?
Oh,
in that piece?
I think it was just to symbolize the fire, because Sharon was all about the fire in elements, and she just wanted to, it's the start of a flame.
Eric, if you could talk a little bit about your festival. Is it every 2 years or 3 years?
Yeah, colors. So 10 years ago, we have this beautiful theater where we live and work. It's called the Theaterhaus, and the Theaterhaus, we've been Gauthier Dance there 18 seasons now, and the Theaterhaus has actually 4 stages, like I told you. And I thought, where could be a better place to have a festival? Because we could have all 4 stages playing at the same time, and at the end of the night, all the companies meet each other in the beer garden and all get to know each other, make new friends, and then, so I invented colors. I named it colors. I remember when I told my staff, my team, I have the name, because they wanted these fancy things, Biennale de la Danse, whatever. And I was just like, colors. Colors is such a great word, because, you open your eyes in the morning and what do you see? What do you choose to wear? You're all wearing different colors right now. Everybody's taste is different, and that's why the festival, the programming, we try to really show all the colors of dance. So it can go from a flamenco show to a totally contemporary show to, so that's why it's called Colors, and it's every 2 years. Funding is different in Europe. I need to always look for the money to make the next one and the next one. I guess it's the same here. Yeah.
But a little advertisement. The next one is next July 2027, and there will be new Gauthier Dance repertoire at that festival, so stay tuned. Thank you so much for your time, for the show, for your generosity, for the beautiful performances. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.